Hi, today's day 145. We're gonna do something different today because you can see my board looks different. A lot of people wanna bully me into changing my green nasty board, but I'm boring and I like it. So I start with e4. This is an over the board game I played very recently, and I'm sharing it not because it's super interesting or anything really, but because it's really short and sweet. The whole game finished in about 20 minutes, and so I think it'll take me less than that time to do this whole review. So let's go for it. I play e4, he plays b6, which is a surprise. I thought it's because he was high rated and because I'm low rated that he did this, but actually I found out that this is his response to e4, which is interesting. So I play d4, taking the center. He finketos his bishop, pointing towards e4. Now I'm thinking, our good friend Danya teaches that when the bishop is finketoed, like you want to make it bite on granite and stuff. That's his favorite expression. Is it to bite on granite or bite on concrete? Either way, whenever the bishop actually develops along this diagonal, I feel like sometimes I do push my pawn to c3, which blunts the impact of the bishop, right? But here I wasn't sure about pushing f3 because maybe my king wants to castle this way, maybe my knight wants to come here, I don't know. So to keep my options open, I just defend and develop a piece, which I thought was good. Now he plays e6, which opens up this baby. And I'm thinking immediately that he wants to pin my knight, which would attack e4 again. And so normally in the opening, I don't like to play a lot of these little moves, except I don't know, in the Jocko piano or something really slow like that. But here I spend the time to play a3, which would stop him from coming here. Now my opponent starts to get a little frisky, I'd say. He is frisky, but I thought he's still in his, I don't know, maybe he prepared this. Maybe he's just being hyper aggressive. I don't know. He's trying to really come for my center. And now I don't really think I calculated taking. I definitely don't think I wanted to take or to really block or anything. I think I just think immediately, okay, let me push d5. And after just kind of calculating this a little bit, if they take back and if I take with a knight or the pawn, I thought this was okay. And I think if he had taken back, then I came to the conclusion, okay, let's take with a knight because it's unchallenged. And if he chooses to challenge me, then I'll think about it later. I might take it. I might, I don't know. I probably would take it, right? But I was like, okay, sure. But I came to the idea that, okay, this is fine. So I push it. I push d5. He doesn't take. He now does something that he's frisky. He was being frisky. He was pushing a lot of pawns and doing this really hyper modern thing. He pushes this move, which I think this is the first time that I start really thinking. I'd say I spent 5 minutes thinking here. Okay, this is a classical game, by the way. It's a classical game. Time control is 90 minutes each with a 5-second delay. So we have a lot of time. We have all the time in the world. This move is a little weird to me because I start feeling like this whole thing over here, this queen side is starting to feel really exposed. But I'm like, huh. So first I want to put the bishop on c4 because I'm thinking, okay, if he takes, maybe now I put my bishop here. And then maybe if we trade off, I trade off one of his main attackers towards my king. But then I see even a sexier move. I see a sexier move because this is open. And now I'm calculating, okay, what if I chuck instead? If I chuck, can he block? And most of the times in openings, whenever I chuck, there's 3 different ways the opponent can block. They can block with the knight, the bishop, or the friggin' pawn. But here the pawn's already moved to c5. He can't block the pawn. And the bishop and knight can actually not come to c6, which is a natural square because my pawn is here. So he will lose something. So the only move here is d7. And whenever my opponent has only moves, then it becomes exciting because then you can start calculating some very forcing stuff. So chuck, basically knight d7 only move. And then to add pressure to the knight, I would take this pawn, a gun forcing move. He has to take back with the f pawn because the knight is pinned. Voila! After this pawn is took, now this diagonal is open. And now my queen can check along here. It would be really nice if they had a piece here for me to take with that queen, but they don't. But I'm still thinking maybe this is still very exciting for me, because then I see if they push g6, which is a natural response to block with, otherwise the king will be forced to move out of the way, and he's forced to frickin' e7, and nobody wants to go there because the knight is already here, remember? So basically only move g6 to block. And now I sense, even though I don't immediately win a piece or anything, I sense this is very exciting for me, because this queen side is already very open, and if I provoke more weaknesses along the king side, I think with all these weaknesses and the pawn, especially the f pawn already missing, I sort of feel this is very promising. So line continues after they block with g6. Then I'm thinking my queen should probably retreat to g4, which would hit the pawn now on e6. And that would be a check on the king. So the only move again to block with, if they don't want to move their king, is queen e7. And because my queen is already here, now I can hit them with bishop g5. So I'm calculating this line out, and after I hit the queen with bishop g5, now if the queen moves out of the way somewhere, now if I take that knight, then the king would be forced to come out, or I add more pressure somehow, or I start breaking it up. I start breaking this up. I start to feel very excited because it's so forcing. So even though I didn't see till the very end of that, I felt that it was good enough for me to play it. So we go for it, and actually we follow that exact line. It's nice when it's like that. Hitting e6, queen comes out to defend, and voila. Bishop g5 as promised, hitting the queen. So now my opponent does something that I did not expect. He goes knight f6, which for some reason I never calculated this move like that they would block with a knight. And I think because this knight is already pinned, I was like, do you want to pin your other knight like that? And while technically these knights defend each other as well, they're both like being pinned right now. So they can't move. So I thought this was really weird. And then after like looking at it for a little bit, I was like, okay, actually I got why this knight came out, because this knight is hitting my queen. So it's kind of like a counterattack. It's not a real pin because my queen has to move. I can't immediately start adding pressure with e5 or anything. So I'm like, okay, that's why they played it. That's actually kind of interesting. So now I'm thinking, where do I have to move the queen? I'm calculating, okay, queen here or queen here. I'm thinking maybe not queen f3, because then I'm eyeing the bishop and then I can't move e5. Am I thinking if I go to queen f4, then I don't know if they might push a pawn or something. Like I wasn't sure. Like I could maybe get on this, but it felt better to possibly go queen h4. But now I'm thinking after queen h4, I'm calculating lines where I either push e5 or I castle long. And in some variations, if I push a pawn and they very willingly take it and stuff, then I would have a lot of pressure on d7. And on the king, and things could get very open and very nice for me. But the counterattack, the refutation to this would be if they push a6 somewhere in the middle of all of my shenanigans. Like let's say I castle, and then they push a6, and then am I in time or not to basically then push e5, and then they like take, and then I take, and they take, and I take. And I was calculating some variation like that. And maybe somewhere in here I would also take this knight, which would force the king to come out and walk. So I was like, maybe here, and then maybe I'll take the knight, and then maybe I'll castle, which would pin the king again along here, and then I'll push e5. So then when they push h6, I would actually be more forcing because I'm actually eyeing the king already. So I don't know. I wasn't actually very confident about any of these calculations, but I just felt like, okay, my queen is probably better on h4, so I go for it. And I thought naturally, of course, it would defend with the bishop. Like I thought bishop g7 is just the obvious move because I'm adding pressure to the knight. I'm attacking him twice. This guy doesn't count because he can't move. So I thought naturally, oops, not that move. Anything but that move. I thought naturally the bishop would have to come to g7. However, now my opponent really surprises me and plays long castle. And whenever your opponent plays something you don't expect, you're like, oh, like did I miss something? Something like, huh, very interesting. Maybe I just missed him getting out of the way. But I was like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Because he's pinned, baby. So what do I do here? Okay. I take it. Forcing move, it comes to Chuck. And here he resigns. Why? Because he's going to lose a piece. Whatever he takes back with, he could take with the rook, he could take with the king even. But this guy is not defended enough times. So he's going to lose a piece straight out of the opening. And instead of dragging it out for 30 moves like my other opponent, he decided just to call it a day. It's because he's much older and he probably just wants to go home and chill and relax like me. So I was very, very appreciative of him just resigning because I was like, great, short and sweet. That's how I like it. I come here, boom, 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 boom. 20 minutes, we're done. Let's get out of here. So yeah, so that was it. Very nice. I thought I did pretty well. We're going to request a computer analysis now and just see, but I actually already analyzed this. I already looked at it and I thought it was pretty good. Okay, let's change to view mode. Okay, so here it's still going. The engine is still processing. But yeah, after sharing this game with a master at my club, he said that he applauded my efforts to use common sense in dealing with a hyper modern opening. He's like, you just played good classical chess. Classical chess basically talks about controlling the center, which e4 and d4 do, and then I develop my pieces. I thwart his attacks to try to take my center. And the hyper modern approach is like doing funky stuff like fan-kittering or bishop and trying to attack or center later. So that's pretty much what happened here. Oh, the engine is very slow. Okay, there we go. I did not have 100% accuracy. What are you on? The first inaccuracy here is them pushing d6, which is because it opens up the king. You can open up the king, I think, but you have to get your pieces out. And I think this whole thing was a problem for him because he started getting pinned. Like, you had to start developing. And I'm just ahead in development. It says that a6 is best. Okay, so that's still not developing. But why is a6 the best move? And why does my knight have to go to h3? Very weird. I don't understand this. Wow, I don't understand this, and I'm glad I didn't see it on the board. I'm glad I didn't see it. So all of this was okay, I think. All of this was okay. Queen g4 was my first inaccuracy by the engine, it says, because the engine prefers queen h3. And if we just check out this line, we eventually still attack the queen, but now their bishop was in time to defend it. But eventually after these trades, I assume I can now take this pawn. The engine probably wants some other funky business in the meantime. My queen is kind of, it's like weird in the corner, but it does a job of defending this guy. It did the job of like supporting our bishop, you know, it's like doing its job. And how I can rationalize why queen h3 is good, whereas queen g4 is a mistake, is precisely because queen g4 runs into the knight coming out and attacking it, which it did as in our game. So it would have to move again. And that's why I think the engine doesn't like me putting my queen in a vulnerable square. However, my point was, once I put my queen here, I can directly come for the queen. I can directly put my bishop here. Whereas if in their line with queen h3, I first had to get my knight out, right, to do the same task of supporting my bishop here. But then by then their bishop was out, so then we just had to trade bishops. So in this case, it's just more direct. It's like direct enforcing, which is kind of how I play chess, I guess. I don't know. I'm not that sophisticated. I just go for brute methods. So here the castle long is a blunder. Bishop g7 is the best. And after this, I think both of my moves actually don't really work. It doesn't work that well. Actually, I don't know why my engine is not turned on right now. it doesn't work that well. So here I have an advantage of 1.1, which is a good enough advantage, but both the moves I was really heavily favoring to play, which is e5, which I wanted to sink more time into calculating once they played this move, because I thought for sure they would play it and then I have more time to think. Like after something like that and then long castle, I saw a lot of pressure down d7. But okay, I guess they can just defend it. Yeah, that's right. They can just defend. It's not the end of the world. And I also thought, what if they just castle now or something? But I guess this line, yeah, they do castle this way. And I thought if they ever castle this way, it would be very loose an area. Maybe I could attack. So by now, my advantage is kind of dwindled down to nothing, pretty much. Like he got out of it. So e5 is not the most forceful move. And then I thought about long castles too, which the engine also doesn't really care for, because again, they could just get out of the way. And I thought I would have some pressure on the queen and stuff, but maybe it's not that much. Yeah? Maybe it's not that much. Yeah. So I don't know. Here, it actually, the engine just wants me to take with the bishop, but I thought like with this move, even if the king can't castle, eventually it can kind of scurry away to safety somewhere, even if I break open the center. So I wasn't sure, like even if I castle here immediately and just check him, the engine is not even that impressed with this because the king can just run away. It looks like I messed up their stuff, but I was like, maybe it's holdable. So yeah, in fact, I don't think I had even that huge an advantage or anything, but I think just because of all the pressure going down with other pieces and them just like the whole time he had this expression on his face, I was kind of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. So when you're just in a lot of pressure, sometimes you blunder, unfortunately. So I think that's just what happened. And I don't think it's because it's not like I like played super well and just really outplayed or anything. It just like, it just happens. Like I blundered a lot. So yeah, here engine says I have a 92% accuracy, which is actually a lot less than my other game. And I think that's it. That's it. That was a cute game, short and sweet as promised. Yeah, these few days I don't think I'm in the right mind space to play chess. I think I need a break. I need to chill out. I was really trying to get to 1900 by the end of this month, but sometimes when I make myself do things, it backfires if I don't do it in the right way. So I think I need a break, and I'm going to be sharing my games, either like over the board games I have played, like this one, but yeah, I definitely lose some of them, and most of them. Some of them are longer and more complicated and interesting, I think. And I've also lost a lot, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Or like games from masters or games that I've enjoyed learning myself. I think it'll be interesting to share. You guys can feel free to suggest games that you like as well. But I think that's that. I think that's that. And have a great night. Bye.